torn away from them very, very quickly by
side.
Titan. Oh my god, NiKo gets 3, 4! Oh my lungs, I don't believe it! Shox then has just to find one more. The molly isn't going to touch him. And what on earth has just happened as Deagle is on fire and Shox is going to walk into it as well. NiKo is on fire.
That was NiKo. Some of you might know him as the greatest rifler Counter-Strike has ever seen. And that's him standing next to Simple, Counter-Strike's GOAT, in the Major Grand Final, where, as most of you know, proceeded to lose and have the most iconic whiff of all time.
What's going through your mind right now? What are some thoughts you have right now?
Not really much. I still cannot really believe that you underperformed so hard today and on the first day. It just felt like it went so fast, everything, and I don't really know like what went wrong and what was the reason, but just embarrassing.
And after losing that final, after that horrendous whiff, NiKo's major trophy aspirations eluded him for years to come. So, imagine being one of the greatest players to ever touch Counter-Strike. You've won almost every prestigious tournament, you've earned countless MVP medals, and you've inspired a generation of players. Some even call you the greatest rifler of all time. Yet, for over a decade, every conversation about your legacy ended with the same sentence. Yeah, but he's never won a major for 12 years. That sentence followed Nikola, NiKo, Kovac everywhere. This is the story of the greatest player who almost never won Counter-Strike's biggest prize. In 2017, FaZe assembled something Counter-Strike had rarely ever seen before, an international super team, world-class players, but all of them had just one goal. It was to win the major. It felt inevitable. NiKo was playing some of the best Counter-Strike anyone had ever seen from a rifler. Tournament victories came quickly: Katowice, ESL 1 New York, Epicenter, Star Series, and guess what? The MVP medals kept piling up for the Bosnian. To almost every player, this would have been enough. But majors are different. Majors in Counter-Strike define careers, and there's always that if statement if someone doesn't get that elusive title. And in Boston, everything seemed perfectly aligned. FaZe managed to reach the grand final of the 2018 Boston Major, and they were just one series away from the trophy. One single series away. And everyone knows what happened there.
Came back all the way! All the way!
One victory away from completing the dream. Then, Cloud9 happened. The infamous 15-11 choke in the 2018 Boston Major. And people started to wonder, would NiKo ever get his elusive major title? This loss in Boston wasn't just any loss. It became a scar for NiKo. Every major after that, it felt more difficult, heavier, and people were starting to wonder, is he going to choke his way out of every major? Katowice, Berlin, Stockholm, Antwerp, Paris. Every year brought another opportunity, but every year would just be another disappointment and they'd fail to win the title. Some of the exits were simply heartbreaking, and others were devastatingly crushing. But no matter how well NiKo played, the ending never changed. Fans started calling him the greatest player to never win a major. Think about how impossible that sounds. Imagine being one of the greatest players ever without one trophy that everybody remembers. And eventually, people stopped wondering when NiKo would win. They started wondering if he ever could. And that's what hurt the most. And perhaps the cruelest moment came at the PGL Stockholm Major. Now infamous, the one missed Deagle shot on Nuke.
Hunter and NiKo, how
Chet, I
poetic.
can't take this.
And it's simple and bit.
I don't want to die today.
Times it to perfection.
NiKo. Ah! No fucking way.
It was just one moment. And in fact, it was just one bullet. A clip that would be replayed millions of times, but not because it defined his career, but because people believed it did. That's the burden of greatness that NiKo had to endure. Nobody remembered his thousands of incredible rounds. Nobody remembered his hundreds of incredible rounds. They remembered the one where he just missed that single bullet that could have defined his legacy there. And despite everything, NiKo somehow managed to keep coming back. Every season and every major, he managed to pull up with a new face and try his best. Because legends don't quit after a heartbreak. They keep believing. And he never stopped believing either. Then, Counter-Strike changed. A new engine. They called it CS2. And for many players, CS2 was simply another season. But I think, for NiKo, it was something else. A fresh beginning. Another chance to rewrite history that had followed him for over a decade. The pressure hadn't disappeared, but if anything, it had grown even larger. Every major had become another reminder that time was running out. He was getting older, and his individual statistics had begun to decline. Every tournament raised the same question. Would this finally be the one? Or would history just repeat itself, and he would be just called Choco all over again? But guess what? In the shock move, G2 had let NiKo get signed to Falcons, an organisation notorious for poaching talent and creating super team rosters with the best players from around the globe. Falcons had rosters in other games like Dota 2 and Rocket League, which had won the major tournaments respective in their fields. But in CS2, it didn't go quite the same way. People had actually dubbed the Falcons as, quote, the pay-to-lose esports team because of how much they would choke. And with the signing of NiKo, they had inadvertently signed his choking potential alongside with him. But then it happened. Not a moment, but an individual. Carrigan, once a teammate that was with him in Boston, now an out-of-nowhere signing that allowed Falcons, in 60 days no less, to go from chokers to the anti-chokers, and NiKo to break his curse. The years of disappointment, and the years of criticism, and, in fact, the years of impossible expectations all led to this one tournament, IEM Cologne Major 2026. And guess what? NiKo played out of his mind. For the first time in 12 years, NiKo smiles. Not because he'd finally proven he was one of the greatest. Everyone already knew that. He smiled because the one sentence that had followed him for his entire career had finally disappeared. No longer the greatest player to never win a major, just the greatest rifler of all time.
This day is theirs. This day is his.
10 years! In the 17th time of asking, NiKo has his major!
No longer will he be haunted by Boston. No longer.
Counter-Strike has seen incredible champions, dominant dynasties, and unfettered and unforgettable teams. But sometimes, the greatest stories aren't about those who won immediately, but rather about those who refuse to stop trying. And that's what NiKo's legacy was built by. Not by just avoiding failure, but by standing back up again and again and again. For 12 years, NiKo waited. And now, he finally lifted the trophy that had eluded him for his entire career. Sometimes, the longest journeys create the greatest endings. I've been Vaughan, and thank you for watching.